Yo, what's good, people? We are here with part 74 of Condensed Chaos by Phil Hine. The dog just running amok. Witches, wizards, warlocks, magicians, magus, and magi. Now, we touched on the dark night of the soul. Let us move into macro and micro initiations. Generally speaking, there are two kinds of initiatory experience: microscopic and macroscopic. Macroscopic initiations can be characterized as being major life shifts, traumas that sweep upon us, the collapse of a long-term relationship, the crash of a business, or the sudden knowledge that you have a terminal illness. Such experiences are global, which is to say that they send shockwaves into every aspect of our lives. Microscopic initiations are more specific in their actions. One day I was sitting tapping fingers into the company accounting program when I suddenly found myself thinking, I'd like to do an accounts course. Now normally I would have regarded that as no more realistic than a wish to fly to the moon tomorrow. Accounting is one of those tasks I am only too happy to leave up to someone else, and suddenly I was becoming interested in it. Such a newfound interest, particularly in subjects that you have accepted that you dislike or are uninterested in, can be likened to a small flame, symbolized by the Ace of Wands in tarot. This flame could easily burn out again if smothered or ignored. The trick is to recognize that you are standing at a crossroad, a threshold of change. This recognition is the key to all initiations. Again, the A-pi formula is of use. Assess. Stop. Look around you and assess your situation. Examine all possibilities for future action. There will always be more pathways available than is at first immediately obvious. What possible futures can you jump into? Use any technique that will gather useful information options, lists, divination, dream oracles, or asking your favorite deity. Often, all you have to do is open yourself to become more vulnerable to the forces of change. My dog running amok, man. Plan. Once you have chosen a course of action, plan what you need to do. What resources do you need? These may be material, magical, financial, and perhaps, most importantly, the support of other people. Be prepared to carry your plan onwards. Implement. This is the hardest thing of all, to do what must be done. Often fear will intervene at this stage. Be prepared to look at your motivations for not continuing upon your chosen course. Unacknowledged fears often take the form of inertia and laziness. Each step forwards gives further momentum to the next effort. Each barrier breached releases a rush of pleasure and freedom. Evaluate. This is the stage of assimilation, not merely the practice of writing up one's magical record, but being able to look back at your course through the initiatory period and realize what happened and how you dealt with it. Have you learned any important lessons? The value of such experience is to make knowledge, flesh assimilating experience until it seems perfectly simple and natural. Getting the fear. A key to understanding initiatory states is that they bring with them varying degrees of fear. One of the characteristics of macroscopic initiations is that suddenly our current repertoire of coping strategies are useless. If something into which we have invested a good deal of emotional commitment and self-esteem is directly threatened or removed, and we are placed in a position of being unable to do anything about this, fear is often the dominant emotion. Fear is the bodily gnosis which reinforces any emotional and cognitive patterns which serve us to hold change at bay. Fear is basically an excitatory state, the flight or fight reflex of the autonomic nervous system firing up. Using the emotional engineering techniques described in the previous chapter, you can deconstruct fear into excitement, which can then be used to gather momentum for moving over a threshold into change, rather than reinforcing your own resistance. Relax into fear. This is the process of orientating yourself so that you are sufficiently open to all the different possibilities that each moment of experience offers, enmeshed in the world in an attitude of receptive wonder. This is the knowledge that at any time, without warning, any life event could spin you sideways into illumination. The suddenness of such an experience is one of underlying themes encapsulated in the great god Pan. Pan represents creative derangement, the possibility of moving from one state to another, from ordinary perception to divine inspiration. Pan can leap upon you anytime, any place, with that sudden realization that everything is alive and significant, like animism. In such an experience, physical arousal is a strength rather than a weakness. Allowing yourself to be vulnerable to the possibility of change means letting into your life wild magic and the power of surprises. Initiatory states often tip us into mental entropy and confusion, and this is a good time to free yourself from the bonds of the past and the fetters of anticipated futures. Live in the now of your physical presence. Transform fear into wonder and open yourself to new possibilities. Transform fear into fuel and examine the thresholds of personal demons which hinder movement. This state is a form of ecstasy, a word which means away from stillness, implying some kind of agitation. We're going to stop it there and we'll be back tomorrow with more Condensed Chaos. Not long to go.